Alright, let me get my video set up here. Make sure that we can see it. There we go. Good morning. Today our goal is to provide tips and information regarding effective communication. I would like to start out with a video by Julian Treasure. It's a TED Talk. I love TED Talks. We'll play just the first 30 seconds of it here.
We are losing our listening. We spend roughly 60% of our communication time listening, but we're not very good at it. We retain just 25% of what we hear. Now, not you.
So I find his word choice really interesting. What did he say? He said we are losing our listening. So we're not losing our hearing. We're not all going deaf. We're still going to hear the sounds, that the words that are coming in, but we're losing our listening. Listening is the active skill of interpreting and putting meaning to what we're hearing. So Julian Treasure, again, he states that we listen 60% of the time, but we retain 25% of what we listen to. Now, why does this matter? Why do we need to listen? Conscious listening creates understanding. So the first part of communication is the sender. You send this message. But if there's nobody to receive it, nobody listening, then we're just going to talk at each other and we're not going to get anywhere. Now, other things to consider with communication as well is what affects it, what can impact from what we send to what somebody receives. The environment, location, background noise, visual distractions. I put that in red. I even changed the font on it. So some of you might be looking at that and you're a little distracted. Why is that red? And then you're no longer listening to what I'm saying. You're off on your own little tangent. Your health. You personally, if you're tired, sick, hungry, or if the person you're talking to or trying to communicate with, are they tired? Are they sick? Are they hungry? If they're hungry, you might be effectively communicating from your end, but they're hearing hungry, 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 hungry. So your message is not getting across. Maybe hand them a Snickers bar and then you can finish your conversation. Mode of communication. That's very important. What type of channel are you going to use? So if your communication, if it's urgent, if it's complex, detailed, I would recommend face-to-face or at least a phone conversation. That way you get immediate verbal, nonverbal feedback that your message is being understood and that it's going to be taken care of properly. If it's not urgent, if it's really simple, you can send a text message, an instant message, and then the person can see the message and they can respond in their own time. Punctuation is important to consider. Having question marks instead of exclamation marks or lacking a comma, they can change meaning. There's also communication filters. Our brain is inundated with so much that if we were trying to comprehend it all, I think our brains would just explode. So what we do is we filter things through this little system, our culture, our language, values, beliefs, and then after it goes through those filters, then we start sorting through the information and deciding what we want to keep, what we want to throw out within our minds. So take this photo for example. You have 10 people in a room and you're all looking at this photo and you say, what does this mean? You're going to get 10 different responses. Because of our personality, our life experiences are different. So here's a couple of actual examples of how meaning can change. So the bottom left-hand corner, this sentence is missing a comma. And because it's missing a comma, we are now having hunters hunting pedestrians. And in the top right corner is Amelia Bedelia. I read her books a lot when I was a kid. And she's a great example about misunderstanding directions and making incorrect assumptions. And so listening and then repeating back what we feel like we heard and what we understood is a great way just to confirm that what we heard is correct. Now, Heidi Grant Halverson, she also has another tip for us. She says to say exactly what you mean. Ask for exactly what you want. We tend to be timid. We don't want to offend other people or be too blunt. And if we're vague about what we're feeling or what we want, it leaves a lot of room for interpretation for the other person and a lot of ways that they can interpret it incorrectly. And that can cause confusion. So it's best to be specific, not forceful, not blunt, but not too vague. Here are some fun translations from one language to another. Just some examples of what can happen when you translate it back from English to another language and then back again. But we can have mistranslations within just English itself. How many times have you said, like, that's not what I said? I say that a lot to my husband. He says, well, that's what you said. And I said, well, that's not what I mean. And so being able to understand the other person and how they filter through things, how they communicate, we can better word our own communication to fit their style so that what we say and what they understand is then correct. The last thought that I would like to leave you guys with before we pass the baton off to Marissa is the words of a stand-up comic. Actually, Bill Connolly, when I worked for Allstate on their intranet, they had this as one of their inspirational speeches during their Good Work Week. And he brings out 5 points. So the first one is yes and. He recommends that you accept reality as it is and then build upon it. So if somebody's a horrible communicator, accept that and then look for ways that you can actually make the communication better. And we should listen with the intent to understand, not reply. I'm guilty of this. You half listen to what they're saying, and then the other half of you is worried about what you're going to respond with so that you don't sound stupid, or so you can sound a little witty or charming. But we would be more effective, and I think that we would actually come across in a better light to the person if we listen with that intent to understand what they're saying first, and then we can respond. The third one is let it breathe. This one is so hard for me. It's allowing that awkward silence when everybody's just staring at you, or you feel like they're staring at you, but after you make a point, allowing that silence. They're thinking through your point, they're trying to understand it, and then they can come back and respond. Fourth, it's know your audience. Communication is not a one-size-fits-all. You cannot just say, this is who I am, this is how it's going to be, accept me or not. It's just not going to be effective. You need to understand who you're talking to, how they communicate to actually be effective and to create that good communication. The fifth one is to embrace failure. I hate failure. I absolutely do. I love to succeed. I love those successes. And so failing is hard for me, and it's scary. So sometimes we're afraid to even try. But the most important thing is to just put our best foot forward, keep trying, and if we miscommunicate, if we have an argument or we just don't handle something very well, you say, I apologize. You own it, and you do what you can to make it better. All right, we'll pass the baton off to Marissa, and she'll take it from here.